Welcome to the Look Good, Move Well podcast.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. Satya, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm ready. I'm feeling good. Yeah. What'd you have for breakfast this morning?
I had yogurt, my favorite, Strauss European style. So good.
Yeah.
And blueberries, raspberries, granola. I like a little crunch.
A little crunch.
Yeah.
Did you see what I posted?
You had some sort of Greek yogurt popsicle situation?
Kind of, not really. Yes.
Froyo?
I just put the Greek yogurt in the freezer overnight and then like put it on the counter, and so like, for a little, like maybe 30 minutes, and when I scoop it out, it's kind of like semi-frozen. And so it's kind of like, it is technically frozen yogurt, but then I drizzled a little honey and put some berries in it. It was really, really good.
Delicious.
Yeah. So that was part of my breakfast. And then I had my milk, my kefir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also had Pascal's cold scrambled eggs that she didn't eat.
There you go.
Yeah. A little extra protein.
Get that in.
Get that in.
I was
Don't
busy.
let those eggs go to waste.
No way. Yeah. I feel that way with my kids' pancakes. So I make them, I got the pancake batter, which is eggs, cottage cheese, and oatmeal. Just equal volume of each. So a cup of each. And it makes a great pancake, but I don't do so great with the oats anymore.
Yeah. You've had issues with oats before.
Yeah. I think I overdid the oats when I was in my CrossFit days. I had like a bowl of oatmeal with protein powder like every day for like 10 years, and maybe I went over.
I'm really into the Feeding the Frasers peanut butter and jelly overnight oats recipe.
Oh, nice.
That's good. And then I also like an oat banana egg pancake.
Okay, yeah. That's good.
Yeah, that's good.
Right on. All right, well, we're going to jump into some, a little bit of a mashup of questions and topics, because each of these is definitely worth talking about, but probably isn't, a full episode.
Yeah.
So which one should we start with?
Let's do alcohol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Which is a really good one, because I definitely went on a little journey with alcohol when I started getting more into fitness, where I was never a heavy drinker, but I'd have a few drinks a week maybe, especially in my former life. And then when I got the Whoop, that was when I noticed that the sleep was being impacted, the recovery was being impacted, and I just thought, I can really see the difference here, and kind of wondered to myself, like, what am I even getting out of this? It was kind of more of a habit than anything that was really providing any benefit to me. So I hardly drink now. I do have one here and there, but feel like that has been a big shift for me.
We got the question in the context of how did it arrive?
It was like, can you get shredded if you have like 4 or 5 drinks a week? Yeah. Is that a thing?
Yeah, the answer is sure. You absolutely can. Have you heard of the Matthew McConaughey diet for Dallas Buyers Club?
I have not heard of that. What is it? No.
Yeah.
What did he have?
Well, did you see Dallas Buyers Club?
No.
It was, the story of Ron something, but he was like stage 4, basically like full-blown AIDS. And he, like muscle wasting, like extremely skinny. So he had to like, Matthew McConaughey was like known for like being kind of muscular, jacked dude.
Yeah.
And then he showed up in that role and was like 135 pounds, like looked like he was wasting away. Anyway, not to say he was shredded. Like he was supposed to look very unhealthy and sick, and like he was dying, which he was. But he went from like, he probably passed through like a pretty lean phase to get there, and his diet was, what did he say? He's like, wake up, have a couple like a couple scrambled egg whites, a piece of fruit, a little bit of like spinach. Lunch was like white fish and like another thing is vegetable, and then at night it was like he could drink as much wine as he wanted, and that was like what he did for like 5 months, and he like lost like 1 pound or 2 pounds a week like clockwork for the whole time.
Wow.
So, and he was drinking like a bottle of wine a night, like a decent amount.
I can't imagine that feels that good.
Oh, I mean, it wasn't. This is not me
He was
endorsing
not on
this as a
Persis
diet.
Pump.
This is not me endorsing this as like a solid approach to weight loss.
Right.
It's just
Technically, sure.
technically, yeah. You can drink alcohol and lose a lot of weight and get, really, really emaciated and lean.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, can you get shredded? Sure. Like, and you don't have to go that extreme.
Yeah.
But it's difficult for a lot of people. I don't know a lot of people that are doing that. And, like to get shredded or to lean out, like, fat loss is a bit, I don't want to say it in this way because this could definitely trigger some people, but it's like, it's a little bit easier than muscle gain and like building a big, a muscular physique, like adding muscle versus fat loss. With fat loss, it's like get into a caloric deficit, eat enough protein, and move your body, and ideally like do some resistance training. And so if you control for those variables, like you could eat your body weight in grams of protein, lift weights, eat some carbs and some fat, and save enough calories in your day to just go out and have a drink or two.
Yeah.
And you could totally do it.
Yeah.
And you'll lose body fat. But then the question is like, okay, now that you're shredded, like, what's next? Like, is this what you're going to do? And you're going to live this way forever? Like, no, you're going to want to add some calories back into your diet. And what about when you want to like get back to training hard? And what if you want to build some more muscle because you realize that, life is not about just being shredded. It's like, oh, I'm shredded, but God, I lost all this weight to get here. And now I feel kind of small. I want to build my muscle back up. And so how does alcohol fit into that equation? It's like, well, if you're trying to build muscle, like it's really not that good.
Yeah.
If you're trying to maintain muscle, it's not that good.
Empty calories.
It's empty calories, but it's poisonous in that it leads to some physiological changes in your body that are not optimal for lean tissue.
Right.
Mainly, it's like messes with sleep, which you alluded to in your experience, which is kind of like the main place that you recharge, recover your system, recalibrate, and it just tanks hormones. It's really bad for your androgens, like the muscle building hormones of the body. So can you get shredded? Yes. Is it a good long-term solution to like having a really, imposing and powerful and, strong physique and amount of strength? Not really. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, that's having drinks 5 nights a week or 4 nights a week. Like, okay, but maybe you find that 1 or 2 drinks a week, works for you to maintain the body that you want. But if you're struggling to get to that body or something's off, it's definitely one of the first things that I would pull from the diet and reduce dramatically. And just in almost every case that I've ever encountered where somebody's like, I can't seem to get to this, I can't seem to do this with my body. And I'm like, how much are you drinking? And they tell me, and I'm like, okay, let me double that. And that's probably more likely what they're actually drinking.
You're actually drinking.
Okay, let's remove that. It's almost like clockwork. It just, things improve. And that's not just a caloric change.
Right.
Right. It's not like, oh, you removed 200, 300, 400 calories of alcohol each day, and that's why you lost weight. No, you removed it. It improved your hormone function. It improved your sleep, which all combined to make you better at controlling your appetite, have more energy, work out harder, maintain more muscle mass, which raises basal metabolism. So it's not just a caloric thing.
Yeah.
Although I did mention that you can manipulate the calorie equation and just make it work.
Yeah. Did you check out that Huberman Lab podcast?
No, I was waiting for you to link that to me.
Oh, yeah. I'll send it to you. I really recommend it. It's just a very straightforward walk through all of the research around the effects of alcohol on your body. Mm-hmm. No judgment, just here's the facts.
Yeah.
And the facts all point to there's really nothing good that it does for you.
Right.
So I want to put an asterisk under that because I really believe in experiencing the pleasures that life has to offer, and
sure.
not just getting in the fitness bubble and subscribing to that lifestyle like that's the only way to do things. And there's this whole other wide world out there of things to experience and try and taste that we're just never going to go there. So I put a star under it because I think that there are situations where you might want to make a choice to have a drink if that's really something that fills your soul, and maybe you love great wine, maybe you have a ritual of going out with your significant other, and things like that. But I just think it's really, really helpful to take in the information and just make a really educated choice about, okay, I'm going to make this choice now to get this thing that really feeds me versus I'm just in the habit of drinking and it's not really giving me any benefit. And in fact, it's like not really making me feel that great and not helping me towards the goals that are also really important to me.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think that the, on that same point, I think for years, people were looking and searching for a physiological benefit to drinking alcohol. And I think that what probably the Huberman podcast is saying is like, actually, none of that really is true.
Yep.
Like having a glass of wine a night is good because of the antioxidants or whatever. It's like, no.
Yeah.
There's like no...
You would have to have so much wine to get that benefit, and then it would counteract.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, health is more than just, what something does to your cells on a physiological level. It's also what it does to your neurochemistry. Alcohol has negative impacts on neurochemistry, but if I have a drink and I more deeply connect with somebody over dinner and I enjoy this moment and it lifts my mood and I get this dopamine release from just this wonderful experience, that might have a very important carryover. And so in the studies that likely, that were used to show like a glass of wine a night is good for you, which there's probably good evidence because you look at different pockets of, people around the world who drink on a regular basis. They have much better health markers than Americans or something like that. It's like, well, they drink wine. Like what? Okay, well, what's the context of that?
Right.
How is that happening? It's like, well, there's communal mealtime where people are connecting and bonding with their tribes and their people and their families, and there's wine being shared over, but by drinking the wine, it slows down their eating, so they actually sit down and they eat for longer, and so they're not shoveling food in their face as quickly, which is then raising this stress response in their gut. And so it's like there's correlations here. And so again, this is to say there's no judgment. The evidence really suggests that alcohol is just a poison and it's really not doing anything good for you. Now let's look at it in the context of what's going on. If I'm if I'm out to a nice dinner or I'm with some friends and there's a glass of wine to have, I'm saying yes. This is good times. I want to experience this with you, but I think people use that as sort of like an excuse to be like, yeah, wine's, all the studies show it's good for you, and I'm just gonna, drink it regularly. It's like, it's really not. But you get to decide, or you get to learn that for yourself by just experimenting. It's like, take it out for a month.
Yeah.
Sober October. Why not?
Yeah.
Give it a try. How do you feel? I felt great, but I still want to have a drink with a friend every couple weeks, and then the next year comes around and you've sort of slipped into some habits and you're like, man, I'm just drinking too much. Okay.
Yeah.
Put that one to bed.
Okay.
All right.
Next. What does 70, 80, 90% effort actually feel like in your body? What should that feel like?
How did you learn this?
The hard way?
No, what did it feel like to you?
I remember my first workouts with percentages, and I had no context for what 75% was. The thought that went through my mind was 75% is a lot more than 50%, and 100% is up here. And so I overdid it because I just wasn't sure how that should feel in relationship to more than 50 but less than 100. It's kind of hard to nail that on the first go.
Yeah.
And I think it took me 3-4 workouts at 75% where I was like, like really, because I had come from CrossFit like right before doing these types of workouts. So I had no other context for how a speed in a workout should feel other than full tilt. So then my coach, Shauna, was like, no, like 75% should feel good. Like it should feel good. It should be like, you're moving. You don't have to stop and take breaks. Your breathing rate is elevated, but you're not like, so that was very helpful for me to just check in with like, am I feeling good right now? Or am I like pushing to that, like, this is starting to feel really yucky zone?
Yeah. Interesting. Well, I think the question is really important that we talk about. What does 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 feel like? Here's what we're trying to do. We're trying to teach people how to work hard who don't know how to work hard yet, physically push themselves hard. And I don't say that like in like a negative, like, gosh, you know, you're a bad person because you don't know how to work hard. Life doesn't really require a lot of physical challenges. Like modern life, there's not a lot of physical, like you could literally go through your whole life without having to do anything that hard physically if you didn't want to. You can get food without having to hunt it. You can find shelter without having to build it. You can
go places
with a car,
break a sweat.
And never break a sweat. You know, like it's all at our fingertips. And so physical struggle is not something people have like learned in their they're forced to learn in their life. Where are people learning physical struggle? Mostly in athletics, youth athletics. And then, you know, that's one place that I see it being taught, or not taught, but just inadvertently being learned. It's like, whoa, that was hard. Like I went to practice and I got super sweaty and oh my God, I felt my legs were burning for the first time ever. And, you know, some coach says, oh, we're going to run sprints because somebody did something wrong. And then you suddenly are like, whoa, that was really like, you know, there's some physical punishment that happens. And you're like, that's what working hard feels like. And then some people like, they run away from it because they're like, I don't want to do that. Some people like really get into it. They're like, I love this. And, you know, I love training. I love pushing myself. So that is a place to learn it. And not everyone has that experience. And of course, like the higher you go in athletics or organized sports or martial arts, like the more you get exposed to like, wow, if I really want to get to the next level, I have to challenge myself, you know, physically. But if you didn't have that, then how do we like teach that in the gym? How do we teach that in a physical fitness environment? Because it's really when you push yourself at higher, like close to your limits where your body is like, I got to change. Yeah. Something's got to change inside of me because the next time this comes around, I got to be ready to do it better or with less effort.
Yeah.
And this is the law by which we all function and operate in the gym. It's like we want to make change, push yourself to your limit, rest, recover, come back, do it again. Do it like that enough times, and suddenly your body starts to change and adapt and grow. So if somebody comes in, they don't have any experience doing that, we got to teach them. If somebody comes in and they're really good at doing it because they learned it when they were in college playing sports, but now they're 40 and they're not a young spring chicken anymore, we kind of have to tell them to like, oh, let's peel it back a little bit. Let's dial it back. Yeah. You know, you're not in college, you know, lifting weights anymore. You're 40, you got 2 kids, and you're, you know, working a hard job. And I don't think you eat very well. And I heard you had 4 drinks last night, so let's not crush it, right? What are most people in the camp of? They're in the, I'm not sure yet how to work physically really hard. You know, because even if you had experience with it 10 years ago, a little experience, like life, you've gotten comfortable, you're not doing it on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So when we started functional bodybuilding, who was our audience? We just happened to have a very uncharacteristic, you know, sample of the population, which was like bunch of fire breathing, like intensity seeking junkies, like that just were like, is there anything other than 10 out of 10? Like, I'm only here to go hard.
Right.
And so that was like teaching people to sort of
like, there's this thing called pacing.
Yeah. Which is kind of your experience. It's like I was doing CrossFit classes. It was like 3, 2, 1, go, race against the clock. And now we're telling you like, hey, if you slow down by like 20%, you'll end up going faster in the end. You're like, whoa, blow my mind. I had more control, better movement, like, better results.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, we're really also trying to teach a lot of people how to push it. So when you're in the 7, 8, 9, 7 or 8 or 9 out of 10, like we kind of use this zone to talk about where we start to make change in the body.
Right.
And it's important that you start to know, like, and you spend time teaching yourself how to get close to failure safely. That's it. People are scared of failure because that is, connected to injury. It's like, when the tires get pushed past their limit, they blow out and you wreck your car.
Yeah.
So we don't want to do that, right? In the gym, we don't want to push beyond failure because that's where people get hurt. And so, but if you don't get close to it, if you don't push it, then you're at risk of being really disappointed with all that time and energy that you're putting into the gym where you're not seeing results. You're like, why am I not seeing results? I'm here 60 minutes a day, 4 days a week. I haven't seen a single thing change. It's like, we gotta push a little bit harder.
Yeah, because people will say like, "Oh, I'm working hard in the gym," but that could mean anything.
Right. I mean, compared to sitting on the couch and getting an Uber to work and ordering Instacart and flying the jet across the country, like coming to the gym and just walking on the treadmill and doing some air squats is harder.
Right.
But at what point do we need to start to level that up and understand like we're getting close to failure? Yeah. And so that's what I think we start to think about with like that 70, 80, 90% is like and I kind of like to think beyond 80% is where you can start to see failure coming. Mm-hmm. It's like, whoa, like that's,
I'm struggling.
I'm struggling. I didn't have to fail, but like I'm closer than I've ever been before and I want to stop. Mm-hmm. And that's okay. Yeah. Stop there. Yeah. 70% is more like, all right, I feel a little burned, but you're not like worried that you're going to fail a rep or, you're not even close. Yeah.
I really like the grunt test for myself.
Yeah.
I mean, I was never like a real noisy person before I started lifting heavy. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, did I just make that noise? Like, yeah. And it's like, okay, I know when I'm starting to sort of involuntarily make struggling noises that I'm about like 80, 85%.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I think it's a worthwhile exercise for people to go to failure. Yeah. Pick an exercise that's safe. Pick an exercise you feel like, hey, worst case scenario, like, I like the sled for that. It's like put on a bunch of weight and just start pushing that sled. And at some point you're going to like literally crap out. Like I can't push it any further. Yeah. That's a good example of like, wow, that's what failure feels like. Mm-hmm. Or pick up some heavy kettlebells and do a farmer's carry. Like go until the kettlebells fall out of your hand. Yeah. Challenge you to do that, know? Or that's where like machines can be really useful tool. It's like I'm on I'm sitting in this machine and I'm just pushing the weights away from me. It's like a chest press machine. Worst comes to worst, like if I fail, like the weights just stop. Yeah. It's not like a barbell that's going to like drop on my neck and my face and my chest, if I fail. I don't need a spotter for that, right? Yeah. So try that. Go to failure. I've been doing this periodically with like people I've been working out with, I think I said this recently, but I was like, how many reps are we supposed to be doing? I'm like, you're supposed to be doing 8 reps. Okay, I did 8 reps, and they put the bar down. I'm like, oh, pick it up. Do 4 more. I think we're doing 12. They pick it up and they're like, okay, cool. And they do 4 more. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. It was supposed to be 15 reps. Do 3 more. They do 3 more. All within like the moment. I'm like, okay, so you just did 15 reps we were actually only supposed to do 8. Your weight on the bar is nowhere close to failure for you. So that's where we got to start to work our way towards that. Now, I'm not saying that that's what you do on the first day in the gym. I'm not saying that's what you do on the second day in the gym. It's like,
right.
One of the goals of functional bodybuilding is to teach people and get them the physical capacity to push to failure safely in their training for the rest of their life.
Yes.
Become a thinking athlete, learn about these movements, learn how to do them correctly, learn what it means to use effort, and then get closer to being able to push to failure safely. If you can do that, if you know how to give effort at close to your maximum and do it safely, you're going to be one of the most resilient people on the planet. Meaning you can do anything that comes at you, physical task and probably mental tasks, because you're going to feel so confident in your understanding of who you are and what you're made of and what you're capable of. This is the mission. And you don't get there by just like flirting with 50%. So anyway, that I think is sort of why these 7, 8, 80%, 90% numbers are there, is to sort of like, it's up to you to like understand and feel it. And until you know what 100% feels like, you're not going to know what these other numbers feel like too.
That's right. Awesome.
Okay.
Did we have any other hot takes to hit today?
You know, there was just one, I think we're coming up on the end of this episode, but there was a screenshot you had of, and I think it would just be worth noting, like reading a couple of them, somebody was like, things were really starting to click for them. You know, when the functional bodybuilding starts to click.
That's right. I don't know who this was from. I don't have a name on it, but it was someone who DM'd you.
Okay.
And they said, I feel like for the first time after months of listening to your podcast, The Nutrition Challenge, being a Persist member, everything now clicked in a way I understand it. And why fueling yourself adequately enough to perform well and build muscle is ultimately going to help you stay lean when you are already very lean. I feel like this is my long-term goal and my key to sustainability. Following all the food philosophy steps, being in tune with my body and what it feels it needs as far as amount, then ditching the scale and overthinking macros. I got so over-focused on finding the perfect recipe that works best for me and what those numbers are, etc., when really my body was probably giving me the answer the whole time. This is the whole basis of the food philosophy and sustainable healthy living. Crazy how when you get to step 7, you sometimes prioritize it over steps 1 through 6, thinking you're doing everything right and trying to achieve this perfect physique when you're really missing the point and the big picture.
I love that.
I love that too. So great.
That really made me feel good to get that. These messages you all send are so encouraging and inspiring and motivating for, I think, both of us and all of us here at the Functional Bodybuilding family. I'm reading where the 70, 80, 90% effort question came from, but I'm going to read this too because I think it's worth touching on. So, and more specifically, are you training hard enough? That podcast was a perfect reflection. Several weeks back, I messaged Marcus about this topic. Coming from a former college athlete and CrossFitter that's now a month away from being 41 years old, the tendency to overtrain is very alive and present in me. Even with the pump workouts, especially with those EMOMs in the last cycle, I'd have some pretty intense delayed onset muscle soreness. I could appreciate the feeling of working hard, but it also didn't feel sustainable. So I'm still dialing in some things to try and avoid overtraining, but this podcast was really helpful in giving me some guidance, so thank you for that. And one thing that you have all touched on, but I'd love to hear more about, was what should it feel like to do 70, 80, 90%, and so forth.
That's right, yeah.
So I think, and we can close on this, but here's an example of somebody who is in that category of people who's trained super hard, college athlete, CrossFitter, knows what 100% feels like, kind of is, I would say, like addicted to that. Like once you see that when you push it really hard, you get results, like you want to push it hard all the time.
Yeah.
You want more. And this is where we have to kind of educate, like peel back a little bit so that you can make progress. Peel back, make progress. Like, it's, so if you're listening and you're in that category, I hope what we touched on today helped. If you're in the category of somebody who's, maybe been a little bit intimidated by going closer to failure, then I invite you to find your own way of arriving at understanding what that feels like, and know that you're a resilient human, that you can do hard things. I mean, we put people through some crazy stuff at CrossFit back in the day. And I know it was known for people getting hurt in some circles, but compared to the number of workouts and the number of things people did, like, the injury rate seemed higher, but it was just because we had a lot of people doing it. So it's like, most of the time people were super resilient and really could get through it. And even the ones that got hurt, in my experience, they valued what they learned in that time from, like, I pushed myself a lot. The injuries heal, and they walked away with this knowledge of themselves, like how I could challenge myself, and when I'm ready to make a change, like, I know how to do it. And now we have the tools with functional bodybuilding to do it, more safely and for a longer period of time. So hope that all helped everybody, and we'll catch you next time.
We'll see you.
Bye.